First thing we're going to learn today is basic shape drawings. How to look at your three-quarter view of a pumpkin and identify basic shapes. Who can tell me what the overall general basic shape of a pumpkin is? Annie? Yeah, a sphere. So first thing you're going to do is practice your sphere. Boop. Practice your sphere.
The thing isn't on that.
Sorry. Practice your sphere. Thank you very much. For this lesson, we don't need to practice straight lines because there are no straight lines in the pumpkin. Even when we're drawing the ribs or the vertical lines for the ribs, they aren't totally straight. There's a lot of difference between geometry and a pumpkin because a pumpkin is an organic form. Our basic shapes lesson was all geometric forms. So we want to make this pumpkin not look like it was made by a machine. So I'm going to take a really good look at my pumpkin. I'm going to turn it so it's an interesting view. Or so I have the largest rib facing me. So I'm going to hold this pumpkin so this largest kind of area or largest two ribs are facing me. I can't decide which one it is. I'm just going to, let's say, I'm going to say both are pretty big. These two ribs, probably the biggest ribs in the pumpkin. So I'm going to have that facing me. That'll give me some automatic foreshortening. And I'm going to set it back up on my pedestal. I hope everybody has a pedestal to help them see three-quarter view. And I'm going to start by keeping my paper edge straight on the right-hand side of my desk. Have my desk vertical. And I'm going to start now practicing the size of my pumpkin. If your favorite technique was stippling, feel free to make, a pumpkin that's, we're going to say the size of your fist. Okay? That's a good amount of space, but not too much space. I've had students kind of fill an entire page with their pumpkin, and then when it's time to stipple, they're like forever, and then I feel bad for them. So as much as they might think that they're enjoying themselves, I feel bad. So you can, if you're doing line design, I would work a little larger. If you feel like line design is your favorite technique. Maybe a little larger, okay? This would also be fine for cross-hatching because cross-hatching is pretty quick, right? Okay, so I'm going to start with my sphere. And you can use any kind of pencil for this. It doesn't have to be a green pencil, but that's best. But most importantly, it needs to be sharp. So. Okay. Next thing I'm going to do is, if you take a look at this, I have a couple circles drawn here. We want to make this pumpkin look more three-dimensional or on our page than it actually is represented. So, what I would like you to do is first draw an ellipse that represents placement of your stem. Okay, so my stem is just about here. Yours is going to be in about the same spot. You should be able to see a little of the back of your pumpkin and the front of your pumpkin. And now I'm going to start adding circles to represent each rib of my pumpkin. And I actually want to have the same number of circles as there are ribs in my pumpkin. So take a minute to count. I have 10. You might want to put a little number so you know. And that's how many circles you need. Your circles should overlap a little. And then feel free to erase your overlap. And create a line that represents the difference between one rib and another. Now, here's a question. Miss West, on our final, are you going to count the number of ribs that we have on our pumpkin? No. I'm not even going to bring your pumpkin home when I grade these. What do you think I'm going to be looking for? What? Not composition. I'm going to be looking for, although that's a really good guess, I'm going to be looking for very similar things that I look for basic shapes. Instead of a believable three-dimensional image of a cube, sphere, or a cylinder, I'm going to look for a believable pumpkin. I'm going to look for the illusion of 3 dimensions on your page. I'm going to look for a full range of values, and I'm going to look for a foreshortening. The same things. Wait until I show you the rubric. You're going to be like, what, did you just switch out the word pumpkin for all the shapes? It's very similar. And then we're also going to learn how to use pen and ink. So, okay. Once we have that, what I'm going to do is incorporate what I learned through my practice with blind continuous line drawing, but it's not blind. So, I get to cheat and look at my paper, but I'm going to spend more than half of my time looking at my pumpkin, because in each of these lines, that represents a length of line on my actual, on my actual pumpkin. So, here we go. So, looking at my pumpkin, I'm continuing these lines. And then I get to erase the bottom section. Okay. I'm going to use my eraser as a drawing tool and look at my stem and erase the areas that my stem covers up part of my rib. And then this is pretty much going to be a not blind continuous line drawing. I'm going to start in one spot, and I decided I'm going to start right here, and my eye is going to follow this line. I'm looking at the direction of the line. I see there's like basic shapes in the base of my stem too, so I'm going to go ahead and draw those in too. That helps me a lot. I'm going to get all of these lines in my pumpkin. I'm allowed to cheat, which is really cool. So much easier than a couple days ago when we did the blind continuous line. Now, if you choose stippling, you might want to just not do stippling for the stem and make the lines kind of like that. And then erase your searching lines and you're done. You're going to want to keep your outlines in for when you learn how to shade this thing. Okay. So that's a basic shapes drawing with 10 ribs. Now let's talk about negative space. I've incorporated basic shapes, continuous line drawing, and now negative space. Negative space, when you're talking about drawing a 3D object, is as follows. I am going to look at the air and draw the air. So instead of drawing the shape, I am going to try to draw, in this case, V's. V, V, V. Okay. So I'm going to look and I'm going to try to recreate this angle. For some of us, the hardest thing is to make sure that there's dimension here. I just improved my drawing by adding a negative space drawing right here. What you don't want, and some of you at this stage in the game might have this, what you don't want is this. Oops. What's missing in this drawing is negative space. Notice how it's kind of like a beach ball, right? This looks very smooth. In reality, this isn't smooth. by looking at the negative space, which is there, and drawing that in, it's helping me recreate the form as I actually see it. If you're struggling with that, and this automatically shows foreshortening, then there's another way to draw this that I'd like you guys to practice right now. I know that you might not have had a chance to finish your negative space drawing, but switch to a new space or a new page and draw a new sphere. Oop, my paper is sprinkled. I don't like that. You're going to find the rib or two ribs that are the largest, closest to you, and then, turn the pumpkin rather so they're closest to you. Draw an ellipse at the top of the pumpkin where you see the stem emerging from the pumpkin. Draw a basic shape or shapes to represent that rib that's closest to you. Mine are two. There's two that are kind of closest to me, because there are two that are the same size and they're both the largest. One isn't really bigger than the other. And then you're going to use your contour drawing to draw those in, and then draw a straight line across the bottom and a little bit higher straight line, a little bit higher straight line. What this is doing is these straight lines are reminding you that the ribs that are after these ribs are going to be higher, therefore creating foreshortening. This is also a good practice for people who have like flat bottom pumpkins where they really, you can really push 3 dimensions using this. For this practice, we're not going to draw the stem. And if I went too fast for you, understandable. I just want to, you have 20 minutes to practice. I just wanted to go through all these. So we can play some music and you guys can practice. foreshortening depth. Different levels at the base shows foreshortening and depth. And that's it.